Okay. Okay, we're recording. Hello and welcome to the IHL YAC Summit Series, Charting Your Career. My name is Sarah Tabor and I am the IHL YAC advocate representing Central Europe. I'm co-hosting with Aditya from the Utah Nevada region and Yasmin from the Massachusetts region. If you have any questions for the panelists, please type them in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to come off mute and ask your question. This meeting is being recorded for anyone unable to make it to the meeting today or for those of you who would like to review.
We will now get into some short bios introducing our panel. Our first panelist is Amelia Steffen. She is a legal intern for the IHL team. She first got involved with the Red Cross this summer and is a third-year law student at the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law at Arizona State University. She's extremely interested in IHL and has taken several classes on the subject so far in law school. Prior to law school, she worked for several years as a subcontract administrator at a nuclear waste cleanup site in eastern Washington State. She is from the east side of Washington State and attended Washington State University for her undergraduate degree. She's particularly interested in environmental law, specifically water law, as well as international law, such as IHL and human rights. The next panelist we're going to talk about is Thomas Harper. He serves as the Senior Legal Advisor in International Humanitarian Law for the American Red Cross. Thomas has spent his adult life in uniform, having originally enlisted in the Army Reserve upon graduating high school. He later commissioned as an officer via the ROTC program at North Carolina State University. After graduating from Campbell University School of Law in Raleigh, North Carolina, Thomas served on active duty as an Army judge advocate for more than 7 years before transitioning back to the Army Reserve. He currently holds the rank of major and serves as a deputy regional defense counsel. He has served in a variety of capacities while in uniform, including as a prosecutor, special victim counsel, and as an operational law attorney in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. Thomas also writes in podcasts for The Legal Geeks, an American Bar Association top 100 legal blog, where he uses Star Wars to teach about a wide variety of legal topics, including international humanitarian law at the national stage. Next.
Our third panelist is Abby Zombique. She's a current NOHA plus Humanitarian Action Master's student in the final stages of preparing her thesis, an observational study on the impact of public opinion on asylum policy within Ireland. She's been based out of and living in Dublin, Ireland for the last 2 years, coming home for the summers to work, including last summer when she had an internship with Larissa and the IHL team back in the summer of 2021. She's currently in the process of moving to New York City with the aspirations of breaking her way into the nonprofit sector there in either project management, logistics, and procurement or advocacy work. Her previous degree for her undergraduate was in international relations, minoring in philosophy from Valparaiso University. Abby served as a panelist last year and continues to serve as a resource for young professionals who are charting their own paths. Matthew Dang is a rising star within the American Red Cross. Having started his journey as an intern his senior year of college, Matthew was hired on as Service to the Armed Forces International Services Regional Program Specialist soon after graduating college. In addition to his duties as paid staff, Matthew also serves as a Youth Action Campaign Program Volunteer Partner, administering YAC as part of the National Headquarters IHL team. As part of his role within the Red Cross, Matthew has always had a desire to help youth bring their dreams to reality. Working in the Red Cross feels at home to him, as our mission statement of preventing human suffering wherever it is found coincides with his desire to be part of the solution. Matthew traces his roots to Los Angeles, California, later moving to Pensacola, Florida to attend the University of West Florida. He studied international studies with a concentration on diplomacy and international affairs, minoring in psychology and social welfare.
Our fifth panelist is Karen Duncan. Karen Duncan is the development manager for the International Rescue Committee in Florida. Through her work at the IRC, Karen engages volunteers and community partners in finding resources to provide for the needs and resources for refugee families. Before being hired in November of 2021, she spent 6 years as a volunteer with the IRC. Her previous work experience includes business operations coordinator for the American Red Cross. Karen and her husband have 3 children. They love calling Tallahassee home. And finally, Yanni Kent is an intern with the IHL NHQ team and a rising junior at Columbia University with a major in political science. Her aspirations are to attend law school with a focus on international law. We will now go into the question portion of this panel. If you have any questions, again, feel free to drop them in the chat and we will try to get to you, or raise your hand so we can get you off mute. So the first question we have, starting in the order of which the panelists were presented, can you guys further explain what you do in the organization for which you work? Amelia, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I first wanted to say thank you for inviting me to be on this panel today. I'm super excited to be here. As a legal intern, this summer I have assisted in creating the YAC curriculum. I got to do a lot of really interesting research on the environment and conflict and really dig into how IHL and those laws help protect the environment. I've also got to do some personal research, which as was noted, I'm really interested in water law. And so I've been able to do a lot of research into water law and conflict and issues that arise with water and water scarcity during conflict. And then another project that I'm currently working on that I'm really excited about is I'm working with Yanni on an occupation presentation and exploring the laws of occupation. And so in my role, it's a lot of research and a lot of exploring the intersectionality of these topics, which I think is really interesting and exciting.
I think I'd be next.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, Thomas.
That's okay. Hey, everybody. First of all, thanks for coming. As Aditya adeptly mentioned, I'm the senior legal advisor. I'm also a senior counsel in the Red Cross's Office of the Judge Advocate, or Office of General Counsel. My military hat gets mixed up sometimes. The bottom line is that I'm a more senior attorney in their food chain. But day to day, my duties involve running and helping lead the team that implements our IHL program, both the adult IHL dissemination program and the youth action campaign, for which many of you just completed a really incredible campaign year. Our mission here at the Red Cross is driven by the Geneva Conventions and the requirement that the United States, like all other countries, has an obligation under that treaty to disseminate or educate their respective publics about IHL, and it's obviously a really critical time to be in that line of business. IHL is always relevant. So day to day, we also, outside of those programs, help with IHL development. So we have close partnerships with the International Committee of the Red Cross, which you know is the ICRC, the International Federation of the Red Cross, or the IFRC, the U.S. military, other organizations and IHL professionals that are operating in this space. And while the Red Cross is neutral and we don't take a policy position on these IHL issues, we do sit at the table. Our influence is high, our opinion is well respected, and our reputation is really stellar in this area. And so other national societies, other entities look to us for our opinion on these matters, or what we can contribute from our point of view. Outside of that, I also wear that second hat. I'm still in the Army, in the reserves, and I do criminal law on that side. So I defend in that context soldiers who are accused of committing crimes or committing some type of misconduct. They're automatically entitled to a free defense counsel, a military defense counsel, and that's where me and my team of 14 defense counsels step in and provide those services. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I think Abby is next.
All right, sounds good to me. Can everybody hear me okay? I just wanted to make sure the mic's coming through good. Beautiful, happy to hear it. Well, thank you guys for having me back. My name is Abby Zombic. I was a previous intern for the YAC program last summer. I'm currently an NOHA, which is the Network of Humanitarian Action Master's student. It is a dual master's program, meaning I'm based out of Dublin, Ireland. However, I did a semester abroad based in Warsaw, Poland. It's a type of program where you get to study a bit different aspects of humanitarian action besides just the legal aspects. The pathway that I decided to choose for my specific education was a focus on procurement, development, logistics, and supply chain management, going into a bit more of the project and program coordination style education. That being said, I'm actually getting ready for a move to New York City, where I'll be based out of Queens, pursuing those further. As I believe Yasmin, who gave me that beautiful introduction, thank you for that, by the way, mentioned, I, have been in this area for a tad bit longer. Happy to come around, talk to you guys a little bit about the education aspects of going through the humanitarian action field besides just legal pathways. And with that being said, I won't hold up any more time with that, but if anybody has any questions about navigating the education sphere of that or pursuing anything beyond, the legal sphere, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you. Matt?
So I filled two roles for the American Red Cross. First, as program specialist for the Service to the Armed Forces / International Services line of service for North Florida. It means that I'm helping to facilitate and manage the various programs that fall under my purview. A lot of what we do is dependent on volunteers, which means big part of my job is volunteer management. In fact, 95% of Red Cross personnel is made up of volunteers. So some of the programs we have include the Hero Care Network, which includes casework and support for our service members and their families. We also have the Youth Action Campaign, which is what a lot of you all are here from. We also are in charge of IHL dissemination and our Restoring Family Links program, which is a program that we coordinate with all the other national societies to help reunite families that have been separated by emergencies. Next, in my capacity as a volunteer partner for the Youth Action Campaign, it means that I myself in my spare time, and I'm also a volunteer. I run it alongside Larissa Hatch, shout out to Larissa, and together we come up with strategies, measure the progress of regions and divisions, and help to ensure that everybody has the support they need in running their youth action campaign. Thank you.
All right, Karen.
All right, thank you for having me. I have a special place in my heart for the Red Cross. I kind of came into the nonprofit world through the Red Cross and joined just a few months before Hurricane Michael hit the North Florida region. And so that was a big learning experience and just was so inspired by what the Red Cross does and how they help people. So I came at humanitarian work very differently than other people. I started out with a degree in computer information systems and worked in software in various ways, and then took some time off when I had my kids and started volunteering again with the IRC, which is the International Rescue Committee. The International Rescue Committee resettles refugees. So that's where the international part comes in the US. We work with refugees in North Florida from Afghanistan, Syria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Colombia, and El Salvador, and now starting soon from Ukraine. And so I started volunteering there and really, really was inspired and fulfilled every day in that work. And so, but at the time when I was ready to join, there wasn't a job at the IRC. And so I started looking elsewhere into nonprofits, and the Red Cross came up. And I feel like my time at the Red Cross, even as a business operations coordinator, so not in direct service, really prepared me and showed me the great things that volunteers can do. And so that's my field now at the IRC, is both in fundraising and grant writing, but really involving the community and helping those who are newcomers to our country through volunteer work and through different support services. So we work with volunteers and interns and getting the community involved in that work, and just really enjoy and inspired by people who come to our country and try to navigate it as difficult as it is. And the law part of that has really come up in the last 6 months as we're serving those who have come from Afghanistan. They are here pursuing special immigrant visas and asylum cases. And that has definitely been challenging, and trying to bring the community together and find resources within the law community to help them do that, as we don't have lawyers in-house that do that through the IRC. And so it's been interesting to understand and learn about international law, or law that involves people from other countries entering into our country.
Great, thank you. Yanni, you're the last one.
Hi, everybody. I'm Yanni. I am currently a rising junior at Columbia University, and I'm serving as a IHL intern and a GR intern, which means government relations intern for the American Red Cross. And so what my work has been pretty much has been helping these two different teams with anything that they need help with. So that means I've been helping with the YAC campaign. I've also been doing a lot of projects individually for IHL, which includes the occupation project that I'm doing with Amelia, and also some work on the International Criminal Court. And on the GR side, I've been working a lot helping them research for different programming and also disaster relief services that they provide. And I'm probably the least removed from high school. And I know that with the YAC campaign, a lot of you guys are in that area. So if you guys have any questions regarding how I navigated high school, if I did navigate high school, and also college as well, I'd be happy to answer those questions. And thank you for having me.
Great, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, panelists, for your in-depth answers. And so this next question is really for any of you. And that question is, how did you become inspired to pursue your career?
I can go ahead and start. So I actually, when I first went into college and everything, I thought I was going to go to medical school. And I was going to study neuroscience, and it turns out that I'm not good at organic chemistry, and that really made me take a hard look at what I wanted to do. And I actually went through a period of time in college. I think I changed my major like 6 times. And one week I was a psychology major, the next I was environmental science. And it wasn't until I graduated college and I was working as a subcontract administrator at the nuclear cleanup site where I really started to consider going to law school. And part of that was I wasn't really working in any capacity like directly with like the public interest side of the environment. And I was out there and seeing how what we were doing was affecting the environment. And I was also really enjoying the legal aspects of my career, such as contract writing and research and reading. And so I kind of took all that and I started thinking, what can I do with this? Like, what could I possibly pursue? And so I started looking at legal programs, and that is really what inspired me to go in this direction and to go into law. And then along the way, I found a lot more interests and passions, especially in international law and international humanitarian law. But it really wasn't until after I finished college that I really found the direction I wanted to go. And I could have ended up in a completely different place if I would have stuck with my original plan.
I'll take the bait. I want to focus sort of on the latter or the most recent part of my career, because you get this advice at various points in your career: create a 5, a 10, a 15-year plan, et cetera, et cetera. It's good advice. I didn't follow it during the second part of my career. When I was in high school, or the latter part of high school and then college, I really had my sights set on a set of shorter term objectives. Once I decided in high school that I was going to join the military, okay, I want to be an officer, but I want to serve as a lower ranking enlisted soldier first. Okay, what do I need to effectuate that, to make that happen? Once I was in college, okay, now I'm in ROTC. That's my pathway to being an officer. What do I want to do? Okay, the JAG Corps. All right, that requires law school. And so you start to fill those things out. Once I got into the JAG Corps, I had similar sort of short-term goals about the jobs that I wanted to do and the focus areas that I wanted to pursue with practicing law. But I never gave a whole lot of thought to after the JAG Corps, after the Army, after active duty. That the military is weird. Some jobs are weird where you're in it and you're like, I'll just be in this job forever. And then life happens. And in my case, I got married and we were expecting our first kid, and the military lifestyle where you're moving around on active duty just wasn't right for us anymore. But at that point, I didn't have a 5, a 10, a 15, 20-year plan. And so I entered a period of my life where I was working. We got out of the Army. I was still in the reserves, and I was doing jobs, practicing law, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. There was that sort of nagging feeling that I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I liken it to if you've ever been like adrift on a lake, on a raft or something like that, or on a pool, just floating out there. That was me. I didn't have an anchor. I didn't have a clear sort of way ahead. And then I got a very random phone call one day, a couple of years ago, from our current boss, Randy Bagwell, the former senior director for this program. And that really opened the door, set the table for me to come into this job. And what I hadn't realized at the time was, on the side as a hobby, there was a mention in my bio about talking about Star Wars and using it to teach and whatnot. I didn't realize it, but what I was pursuing as a hobby on the side, just in my spare time, teaching about IHL, teaching about subjects, and engaging with things like pop culture to help folks understand that don't have a legal background, that was a passion that I really didn't recognize beyond it just being a hobby. And so I found myself in the Red Cross, and almost immediately, within a very short time, I got that feeling, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is a dream job for me. This is, now I have my anchor. Now I have my direction. And so I'm here. The moral of that story is, it's okay if you're adrift. It's okay if you're adrift as a professional who's been working for a long time. It's okay to not know what you want to do. And if you're in a job, or you're in a field where you feel like this isn't the calling for you, then there's a pathway ahead. It's just what I tell folks. It's like, if you've ever been on a hike in the woods on a trail that maybe you haven't walked before, you're unfamiliar with it. There are some curves along the way, and you're not going to be able to see exactly where that pathway goes. But you just have to keep the faith and keep walking it, and stay true to yourself and what motivates you, and you'll find your way.
Yeah, similar to Thomas, I came through it a little more circuitous route. And I really like what I tell people is volunteer. Like, when you volunteer in different areas and different organizations, you kind of get a feel for what they do, and you get an idea of what motivates you, where your passion lies. And that's where I really figured out that I didn't love doing software, but I really loved being in the nonprofit sector, and especially working with refugees. And so, and then beyond that, kind of helping to solve the larger problems that people face. We realized a few months ago that we really needed to get computers into the homes of everyone that we serve. And so just figuring out creative solutions to solve that was really inspiring to me, and motivating and energizing. And so I think it's just trying things out and being willing to pivot and be flexible. It really helps you figure out what you want to do most, and recognizing that, yeah, it takes a little time to figure that out, and that's okay.
I can hop on next if nobody else would like to. Kind of backpacking off of the last few panelists and what they had to say, very similar to Amelia, actually. I changed my major like 3 or 4 times when I was in my undergraduate, until I decided that I wanted to pursue international relations. Funny that you mentioned psych and neuroscience, because that's what I thought I wanted to do too. I loved it. I found it when I went in. I was like, I'm going to be a psychiatrist. I'm going to go through med school. Made it about 2 years in, and I was like, oh no. I understand that nagging feeling that Thomas had mentioned. It was something I loved, but it didn't just feel quite right. Something felt wrong. And then I was fortunate enough to get the chance to go and study abroad. And during that semester abroad is when that realization of, oh, I want to study international relations kind of came about. And I think part of that was me getting to step away from the influences of, expectations from outside forces, be it family, friends, be it like the institution you are in. It gives you a chance to actually look inward and be, oh no, this is what I would like to pursue, and these are the reasons I would like to do so. So having those difficulties navigating is completely normal. It's horrifying and beautiful at the same time. And there's a part of me that loves getting the chance to work with volunteers, especially youth volunteers, because watching everybody go through that journey of their own it's amazing and it's a beautiful experience. But through that, I ended up taking political science courses, which led me to find a passion with working with specifically refugees and asylum seekers, which led me into the master's I'm pursuing now, as well as the thesis that I am currently working on. But getting involved through my undergraduate into the Red Cross through YAC kind of pinpointed that foundational passion a little bit more, and get me more interested into like my project management and leadership roles, which then led me to my master's, which then kind of pinpointed from there an interest in logistics and supply chains within nonprofits. With, if you would have told me that that's what I would have found a love for 4, 5, 6 years ago, I probably would have laughed in your face, to be honest. I would have been like, logistics? No, that sounds boring. But it's crazy the journey that you go through and the things that you'll experience and you'll learn that you'll find the passions for. But the most important part of it is to just keep exploring and never stop exploring, never stop learning, never stop reaching further and challenging yourself, especially in the nonprofit sector. If you continue to do that, you will find something that will not only make you feel fulfilled, but it'll also find you a very, very prosperous career as well.
I think I'll go next, and then for the sake of time, I can just keep moving forward to the next question. Long story short, from a young age, I always knew I wanted to help people. So what did that mean? I wanted to be in a position where I could have an impact on somebody's life. Originally, I wanted to be a history teacher in high school. I wanted to be that one cool teacher that shifted the direction of even just one kid's life. Then I thought that was too little. I wanted to do more. So I chose to be a social work major for a little bit. Wanted to be a social worker working within my community. Then I thought, no, I can do more. So I picked international studies, decided to go to nonprofit, specifically with the focus on organizations that have a large scale impact, like the American Red Cross. And I think my only piece of advice for people looking to figure out what they want to do is to talk to people in the fields that you're interested in to actually know what the day-to-day is like. The media and just news articles aren't enough to explain what a career does. You really want to get the behind the scenes insight from individuals in that job. So thank you.
Thank you guys for all your insightful answers. I hope that also answered the question in the Q&A about choosing the career path. I wanted to ask Yanni a question about your transition from like high school to college, since most of us are high school age or early college age. What was that like for you?
Okay, my transition from high school to college. So I was class of 2020, infamous year in this world. So my first year in college was actually virtual. A lot of us have done virtual years, which is very fun, but also I think what helped me the most going into college, that probably would have translated regardless of if I was in person or not, is when I was in high school, I realized that it's very important to position yourself to be able to have access to opportunities that you wouldn't be able to have. And what I mean by this is, for example, if there is something that you want to do, something that you're interested in. For example, I'm interested in political science. I'm interested in international things, right? When I went into college, I looked for all the different clubs. I looked for all the different little institutes and stuff associated with my university. And I was like, guess I'll go here, guess I'll go there, guess I'll join this, guess I'll join that. And that's the type of freedom that you have in college that you usually don't have any other time in your life, pretty much. And by joining these different things, you not only learn, but you happen to build your resume. So even if you don't end up liking it, even if you just happen to stumble into it, you have all these different roles that you did, all these different things that you participated in. and they help you grow, and they help you also have access to new things. And so I think that's something that I took the most from high school, because there were definitely opportunities that I didn't take or didn't even see were opportunities that probably would have helped me along the way. And so I think when you go to college, just make sure you're a bit more strategic, not in everything, because that's asking a lot, but just in being intentional about what you kind of want to do and pursuing it just a bit so that you kind of have a little leg up as you go. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful for all of us, going to college. Oh, we have one question for you in the chat. What activities did you do in high school to pursue your further interest? For you, Yanni.
When I was in high school, I did 2 years of debate. Didn't do that the last 2 years, but I did do 2 years of debate. I know a lot of people who did debate. I love art. So all 4 years I took an art class, and I also did 2 years of AP art. I did AP drawing and AP whatever else there is. Sorry if y'all can hear a vacuum in the background. They just decided to do that. But anyways, what else did I do? I did a lot of AP history. I took AP Euro, I took AP World. My extracurriculars were, I started a club based on diversity and unity. I went to a PWI in Dallas. It was Catholic. It was an interesting experience, but I just saw that opportunity to bring something to my school, and I started it. What I would give advice to you guys, if you're entering high school or if you're in high school right now, it's kind of the same advice for transitioning to college, but it's more so just dive into what you love. When you're in high school, you're kind of like obsessed with college the more you get into high school, and you're always thinking about like, well, what would make them like me more? What would make this look better? I should take that AP, I should take all these different things. But it's really about pursuing what you love. And when you pursue what you love, it comes through when you apply and when you try to get into all these different schools. So as long as you're kind of diving into your interests, whatever that may be, it's going to help. It doesn't matter if it might not totally align with what you think you're going to do, but it's definitely valuable. So that's my advice. If you love history, take a lot of history courses. If you love politics, take debate, join a random other political thing. That's my advice for you.
Thanks. All right, thank you. I hope that answered that person's question.
I actually have a question for Matt. Specifically, so did you intern with any other companies or organizations and nonprofits before working with the Red Cross? And what exactly made you stick with the Red Cross?
This is a good story. So how I got started with the Red Cross was, it was my senior year of college during COVID. Everyone's at home, and now I'm stuck at home with my own thoughts. Now I'm worrying about what I'm gonna do as soon as I graduate college, and I realized I need some sort of internship to really bolster my career prospects. So the first thing I did was I cold emailed every single nonprofit in my area. I'm talking every single one. I just typed nonprofits in Escambia County and I cold emailed everyone. I got like 3 responses, and all they said was, sorry, we're closed due to COVID, good luck. However, the United Way said, sorry, we're closed due to COVID, good luck. However, let me refer you to the Red Cross. And so I was referred to the Red Cross, and they sat me down, asked me what my interests were. They told me that there wasn't an existing internship, but that they would help me make one. And so in that process, they made me an internship, signed a MOU, a memorandum of understanding with my school. And in that process, I got an internship my senior year of college that also counted as class credit. And so I've kind of just stayed within the Red Cross because not only have I learned a lot about the organization, I feel like there's a lot of growth and development there is to be had here.
So my question was, to everyone really, what is the biggest challenge you faced getting to where you are right now in terms of your career?
I think the biggest challenge that I've faced so far in getting here is really learning that you are the most successful when you're being yourself. Because I know that going into law school and going into law, I heard a lot that, you know, lawyers are supposed to be really loud and really in your face. And there's just like a personality type that I know professors told me about, and family and friends and everything. And so I think at first I felt like I had to change my personality to really fit into the field. And then I learned that that's not true. And some of the most important traits in the legal field are learned traits, whether that's effective communication or learning how to write a specific way, and that there isn't one personality that is going to be successful in this field. And so don't let anyone ever tell you that you need to be more loud or that you need to be more quiet, because you will truly be the most successful when you're just being your genuine, authentic self. And that is what will get you where you need to be.
Can hop on that next if that's all right. I could not agree with that statement more. Being exactly who you're meant to be is without a doubt the most the best thing you can do, especially working in the nonprofit. They don't going into law. They don't want somebody who's fake. They don't want somebody who's going to put on a face to go forward. They want somebody who's going to be real and honest and dedicated, working for their cause and showing their passion. Another piece of advice that I definitely struggled with navigating going into my undergraduate and into grad school is finding institutions, finding ways to get into your college, getting ways to get into your master's, getting ways to get into your PhD if that's what you'd like to do. Use all of the resources that are given to you. And it doesn't matter if it's something as small as going to probably like a guidance counselor or something in the high school and asking them, hey, are there any websites, are there any things that you guys know about, or any type of can I sit down and have like a mock interview with somebody for like a college interview? Take advantage of all of those. You will learn incredible lessons through all of those, and I know they might seem a little mundane at times, but the lessons you will learn and the things you'll get from them, it's incredibly valuable.
I'll step in. I have a couple thoughts in terms of the authenticity piece, and then just oftentimes I was the biggest obstacle to in my own pathway, and just sort of embracing that failure is going to happen, and that you need to use it in the right way. Authenticity is really key. People talk a lot of times about how do I distinguish myself? I'm at a university with a lot of really smart students. I'm in an applicant pool with a lot of really well qualified applicants. I'm interviewing with all these highly credentialed people. How do I stand out? Do I need to move a period on my resume? Do I do this? Oftentimes, and I say this as somebody who's interviewed a lot of folks, it's the authentic people. It's being yourself, being a human being that you are, that makes you stand out. And I say that because there are certain people on this call, on this panel, that distinguish themselves just by being themselves in an interview. And that seems counterintuitive, but I think it's this societal push that makes you want to put on airs. Like, I'm a lawyer, I have to act a certain way. I'm a PhD, I have to act a certain way. I'm this or that. And while there are certainly boundaries and lines and ways that you have to shape your conduct, you also don't have to be a machine. It's okay. I will share kind of a personal story. Big fan of Star Wars. It's near and dear childhood love of mine. And throughout all of college and the first part of law school, I hid that fact. I thought there's no way, like, if you're going to be taken seriously, nobody can know that you like space movies. It's unacceptable. And then in my room, I allowed myself to have it during law school. I had one little shelf on my bookshelf with some Star Wars toys on it, some of my childhood stuff, just to keep sort of that little flame alive. And I remember one night we had a number of people over from my class. It was like a sort of a welcome back type party for some of my classmates. And somebody went into my room and videotaped it, and like it at the TikTok and stuff wasn't a thing back then. But circulated it, or tried to circulate it around the school to make fun of me. Like, he's got a whole shelf of Star Wars stuff. I was devastated. It was like, I got picked on a lot as a kid, but to get bullied in law school over something as silly as that, that was sort of one of those moments in life where every ounce of me was like, just put these in a box. You don't want this trouble anymore, and let's just move on from it. And lesson learned. You can't even have a shelf in your own place. But I kind of sat back and I said, that's garbage. Like nobody should get to do that to you. And so I'm not a confrontational person. I confronted that individual. He was kind of unrepentant about it. I look back on it now and I've embraced that. It's become part of, I've embraced it as part of who I am. It's something that I wear on my sleeve. He failed the bar exam, and so at the end of the day, don't let anybody keep you from being you. Don't settle for being some like automated robot or something because you're trying to fit somebody else's definition of a profession. I would also tell you to embrace failure. The question was what's been an obstacle along the way. I've been my own obstacle at multiple points because I've failed. I've come up short in a number of key ways. The story I'll share there, as you get ready to commission as an officer, you've got to go off to this like big, they call it a camp, but a big sort of 6-week long evaluation process that determines sort of whether you're fit to be an officer, and if so, what job you're best suited for. And at the start of that, they do a physical fitness test, and you know it's going to happen. Before, it's not a surprise. It happens on day 2. It's the first thing out of the gate that they do, and they wash you out if you fail the test. That's the bottom line. If you fail it, the test is push-ups, sit-ups, and then a 2-mile run. I came up 1 push-up short of where I needed to be, and I remember the grader just like sighed in disgust as I like kind of fell down on the mat. I was like exhausted. I like didn't have another push-up in me, and he just dismissed me. He's like, "Get up, get out of here." And I remember going to like a little porta potty near where all this stuff was. And I just sat in there and I was like, holy cow, my career is on the line. Like my whole objective is to be an Army officer. I just jeopardized all of that with a push-up. And then it was one of those moments where I sat back and I was like, what's a push-up? I've got 2 events left. I failed the test, because if you fail one event, you fail the entire test. Let me at least prove to them that I can do those other 2 events really well. So I went out and did as best as I could on the other 2. And I had to come into a high-ranking officer's office that day. I didn't even get a chance to shower. I'm sweaty and just sad. And he was like, explain to me why you should still be here, why I shouldn't put you on a plane this afternoon. And that would have been the end of my arc to try to get into the Army as an officer at that point. And I said whatever I said. I think I blacked out during that meeting. He allowed me to stay. I had to take the test again the day before we were supposed to graduate. So I had that sort of pressure hanging over me. But I kept that motivation. I said, I'm not going to fail again. And so throughout the rest of that time, in spare minutes that we had, I was sitting there doing push-ups. If we had some downtime, I was doing push-ups. I was bound and determined that I was not going to come up 1 short. I might not like blow the test out of the water, but I was going to get that 1 extra push-up. And I did. The point there being, don't be afraid of failure. It's going to happen, and don't let it completely crush and lock you up when it does happen.
I think another important thing is or challenge that you might face is like feeling like you need to know all the answers when nobody really expects you to know all the answers, and being willing to say, look, I don't know, or being willing to feel responsible for, like, if you make a mistake. The thing I loved about working for the Red Cross was there was definitely a culture of, you could feel safe in saying, I messed up, or I don't know. And how do I find out that information? And then the other thing is, I saw some people with challenges where they really felt like, there was a project to work on, especially during Hurricane Michael, that you needed to stay in your lane. And certainly everybody has their own job to do, and we should respect everybody in their job, but that you're part of a bigger team and a nonprofit, that you're going to be asked to do things that weren't on that job description. And that if you pull together as a team, you can accomplish a whole lot more, rather than just saying like, that's not my job. Being willing to jump in and help out, especially during times of crisis, is that everybody's on board and everybody's helping. So
I can just say one more thing. For me, it's been the intro classes. I think once you get to college, you're going to have to take introductory classes for your major. And there was an intro to human rights class that I took in the fall last year. And they really had me shook. Not because it was a bad or a hard class, but just because it was boring somehow. And I loved this field. I thought this is going to be my major, da 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 da. And a lot of the poli-sci intro classes are boring. A lot of the poli-sci intro classes also have a lot of theory. And another interest that I have is international relations. And I remember the first whole section of the IR course was theory and pages of it, 60-page reading assignments. And I just thought, this isn't for me, I can't do this. But that's not the truth. If you take another class, it ends up being better. And if you're really passionate about a topic, you can't let one class or one bad teacher get you out of this whole zone. And also on the opposite side, I have classes where I took just for a requirement, ending up being my favorite class of the semester, and being okay with pursuing those as well. So that's just to say that sometimes there will be dull moments or maybe even disillusioning moments, but if you're truly passionate about it, don't let it get you off course or totally take you out of the field just because somebody didn't know how to lecture. So.
All right, thank you guys. Those are really good answers. I had a question for Abby. You mentioned that you studied abroad. How did that shape your career path, or did it have effect on your the way your future kind of went?
So I'll be the first one to say I am extremely biased with sending students abroad. I think it is one of the best experiences that anybody can have. I was lucky enough when I was younger, little bit of backstory on that, to be part of a organization called People to People International, which is a student ambassador program. And through them, I traveled with them twice, once when I was 13, once when I was 17. And I went all around the UK when I was 13, got the chance to see castles, see the Loch Ness, see all the cool stuff. However, on these trips, it was more than just, oh, hey, let's take these American students and show them all over the place and whatever, get them away from their parents for a little bit. It was more, let's take these students and let's teach them about other cultures. Let's teach them about different political systems. Let's teach them about leadership skills and how to be independent. And those were all skills that once I got older, I continued to develop and sharpen. And once I got the chance to study abroad in my undergraduate, in which I went to Newcastle, Australia. So my family was a little nervous about that one, a bit further away than, the UK or Chicago, just a couple hours away. But getting the chance to go there, getting the chance to be away from all the pressures and all that outside noise, and getting to take courses dedicated to the study of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, getting to take more political and philosophical courses while I was there. Through those, I understood I had not only a deep passion, but a desire to learn and grow and experience other cultures. And also with that comes a very deep-rooted respect for other cultures. And through that, and partnered with my love for political science, international relations just seemed like the absolute logical next step for me. And I truly do believe if it hadn't have been for me going abroad in my undergraduate, I probably would have ended up being a marketing major. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would have been happy doing that at all. But I will be the first person, and probably the most obnoxiously, to tell you, if you can go abroad, you should. It will change your life. It really, really will.
Thank you.
We have so many talented and successful panelists. And so our next question is, what motivates you to succeed, and how would you define success?
I think kind of similar to Matthew, or Matt, sorry. I always, from when I was in middle school, I think I just decided that my career has to help people and it has to help as many people as possible. And so my metric of success is how how on task I am with doing that or like pursuing that, if it's aligning. I think especially for once as you get older, you realize that success has many different faces and not everybody's success will look the same. And I think for you guys, knowing that most of you are in high school, what seems like the biggest metric of success is going to be college and what college you go to. And it's not until you get out of the process of having to apply to college and go through the ringer with that, that you realize that whichever college you go to was meant for you, and whichever college somebody else goes to was meant for them. And I can't tell you how many people I had in my class in high school where I was like, they're just gonna be like top, like it's gonna be Ivy, it's gonna be, it's just, I just had like, they work harder than me, they do this better than me, this better than me. And I had friends myself who I was like, oh, they're gonna go here, they're gonna go there, And you realize along the way that there are so many factors. Step one, it's a lottery system. You could do things to make that lottery maybe a bit easier, but at the end of the day, it's totally that. I had schools I applied to that I loved, that I thought I would get in, I didn't. I had other schools like that. I had friends like that. And then there are other multifaceted reasons why people sometimes don't end up going to the college they thought was their dream college. And that's okay, because I wrote this down too, because I thought it was a good little line. Okay, successful people are successful no matter the college they go to, because you'll make it work. And that's what I stand by. You're gonna go to that college wherever you end up, and you're gonna find out what you wanna do. You're gonna find the silver lining if it wasn't your top, or even find the reason why it is your top now that you're there. And you're going to be successful because you're going to still do what you wanted to do. So that's my little success thingy. So yeah.
I guess I wanted to answer about the success thing, and then we'll move on to the next question for the sake of time. To me, I don't think success is defined by academic success. I think it's by how well you know yourself, whether it be what am I good at, what do I like, who do I want to surround myself with. Just knowing more things about yourself will guide you to the right path. Because I myself, when I was younger, I didn't really know myself, and I tried a lot of things. I made a lot of mistakes. So I would say the sooner you know yourself, the better position you are for success in the future.
All right, thank you. For the sake of time, this is a pretty kind of short question. I just lost it. Sorry. What advice would you give to someone looking to pursue a career like yours? Like any advice?
I think that my advice is actually a little bit similar to what Yanni was just saying, but it kind of goes into don't get lost in the competition and don't lose yourself. There's a lot of times when you're going through life that it's going to seem like, I didn't get this opportunity, or this person is getting this opportunity. Especially in law school, there's a lot of fighting for getting those top firm positions or for working at specific government agencies. And sometimes you can get caught up in the competition and kind of lose sight of what you want to do and why you came here in the first place. And while it's completely okay to change your path and to change what you want to do, I think it's important to stay in touch with what you originally wanted. And for me, doing that is just keeping a balance, that you can't get so wrapped up in your career and what you're doing that you kind of lose this like work-life balance, your personal life. And so I've just, I would say always make time for doing things that are unrelated to your career. And whether that is hanging out with your family or going outside and doing stuff. This winter, I decided I was going to learn to knit. So I started knitting sweaters, and it's just so refreshing to step away sometimes. And I think that it keeps you motivated. And so those are my two, I think, biggest pieces of advice is don't lose yourself in the competition and always keep a balance and do things that are unrelated to what you want to do in your career.
I would say to be willing to take risks. You know, I have several friends who are at the point in their careers right now and they're miserable in their jobs, but it's because they're not willing to put themselves out there and try something new. I saw a study once that women will only apply for a job if according to the job description, they're 100% qualified, whereas men will do like 50%. So for the female people on this call, like, be willing to put yourself out there and try something new. And even if you don't, you know, if you feel like you're unqualified or you're not, you don't know every aspect of the job, be willing to go out there and just go for it. That you're all really smart individuals and you can learn new things, and be willing to take that risk and put yourself out there and try new things.
I'd say two pieces of advice. There's a Mark Twain quote that I love that I hope you all carry with you forward in life, which is comparison is the death of joy. So right now, social media and stuff, it's so easy to look at like the best, what other people are putting out there, as like projecting out there as like their best life, and say, I'm not stacking up to that. They have it better than I do. I'm falling short. And Yanni and Amelia really hit the nail on the head of this, but they're not the measure of you. And oftentimes what you're looking at is like a storefront window. They're putting the best little pieces of fruit on the front of the fruit stand, and they're hiding all the rotten pieces, right? And so that's not a good measure for you, and not one that you should use. I have to constantly remind myself of that quote. But the other piece would be to just shoot your shot. Don't be afraid. Have that Hamilton type mentality. Like, you're not going to miss your shot. And I thought the comment from Karen about that's a really, really common one. I'm going to hold back. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, this opportunity will be good for me. At the end of the day, it's sort of like what my mom used to say when I was afraid to approach a girl. She'd be like, well, the worst she can say is no. And getting a no after you interview or something like that, that's not going to end your life or end anything. But you're going to miss all of those chances that you don't take. So put yourself out there. If you see an opportunity that seems up your alley, that is in line with what we're talking about, throw yourself out there, dive off into the deep end, test your mettle, test your limits. And I guarantee you're going to discover that sort of the limits that you thought you had are actually a little further out than your perception.
So we would love to give a heartfelt thank you to all the panelists for taking the time out of your day to come meet with us. And I know this was very helpful to all the young people in this audience looking to pursue the Red Cross or any other area of humanitarianism, law, and more. Also, we have 2 more events until the end of the summit, so make sure you register for the Harry Potter and the Deathly Violations of IHL, as well as the National Symposium. And the links, I can actually drop those in the chat. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Come to Harry Potter on Friday. It's going to be really cool. International Showcase, also cool.